works out really good. Our next presenter is Miss Emily Fitch to talk about the effects of nursing homes.
My name is Emily Fitch, and I focused on the effects of nursing homes on their residents and the most effective methods of prevention. For my project, I was inspired to do my project by my grandmother. Ever since I was little, I've always wanted to be like my grandmother. She's just been an inspiration in my life. And so when I started thinking about what I wanted to be when I got older, I've always wanted to go into the medical field, but I've switched back and forth between which part of the medical field I went to, and I've ended up always going back to pharmacy, which is what my grandmother does. She's a long-term care pharmacist. And so when I was thinking about my project, I really just wanted to put this into pharmacy, into my project somehow. And so I was thinking about, I want to go into geriatric pharmacy. So I was thinking about what I really wanted to do with my project, because pharmacy is such a vast topic. So I wanted to kind of narrow it down into what something that I could really focus on. And so then I started thinking about my grandfather. When my dad was in high school, my grandfather was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so a few years ago, we had to move him into the nursing home, and it was just a really tough transition for him. And so I saw the effects that putting him into the nursing home did on our family and him and my father, how hard he took it. And so I was thinking about really wanting to make an impact on something that affected my family. So that's why I chose to research the effects that nursing homes have on their residents and the most effective methods of prevention. About when I was starting to think about this, I thought it's significant because the medical advances that we're making today are allowing for people to live longer and live with more diseases. So nursing homes are becoming larger, and the need for care is growing so much because of this that I thought that it would be a really good topic to research. And so then I started researching, and I found that depression affects about 40% of all nursing home residents at some point while they're in the nursing home, and anxiety tends to go right along with depression. So I decided that I was going to research that, and then the methods of ways to prevent that, because I saw it happening with my grandfather. So when I was researching, I found that in order to prevent depression and anxiety, the most effective way is to get the nursing home residents involved in activities at the nursing home, because it allows them to be involved in their community that they're living with now, and allows them to make friends and form relationships with the staff members. Originally, when I was first started thinking about what my research, what I thought would be the most effective was pharmaceuticals. I thought that taking medicine would just be easy because they already take all this medication. But as I researched more, I found that because they're already taking all this medication, it's not a good option for them because of the severe adverse effects of taking more drugs with other drugs because of drug interactions. I also found that there are some people who believe that exercise is a good way for nursing home residents to act against depression and anxiety. But then as I continued to research, I found that it's more difficult for them to exercise because of their physical disabilities. So that didn't really seem to be a good option. But also that way nursing home resident staff members act towards the residents also has this profound effect on the residents, how they feel about themselves. They still, as they move into the nursing home, they feel like they don't matter as much anymore, and that they, so if the staff members talk down to them and make them feel bad about themselves, it'll have a bad effect. So the quality of the relationship with staff members and nursing home residents is really key into fighting depression and anxiety among nursing home residents. So for my internship, I interned at the University of Virginia Hospital Inpatient Pharmacy. This is my mentor. His name is Rainey Campbell, and he is a graduate of Orange County High School. And so it was just a really good experience getting to talk to him about his path that he chose to go to pharmacy school, because he was really excited. He wanted to do pharmacy because of a chemistry teacher that he had here at the high school. So I just thought it was fun getting to talk to him about his experience coming from Orange County and going to pharmacy school. So while I was at my internship, I got to, I learned about the hospital pharmacy and how it's run, but that's not really what I focused on. I focused more on drug interactions. We talked a lot about that. I got to look through books about all the drugs that interact badly with each other. So that was just a cool experience getting to learn all about that. And I also got to sit down with clinical pharmacists because the hospital is set up and there's Mr. Campbell is the supervisor of the pharmacy, and then there's clinical pharmacists that approve all the medication orders that the doctors put in, because UVA is a teaching hospital, so a lot of the physicians are just learning, so they have to really double check to make sure that everything is good for the patient and the dosage is correct and stuff. So I got to sit down with them and see how they would go through their process of determining if a medication and dosage were correct for a patient. So whenever they would get a geriatric patient, I would get to go over and they would tell me specifically what they would look for, like the kidney function specifically of the patient to determine the dosage of a medication, because as we get older, our bodies deteriorate, so we're not as able to fight infection and use medication as well because it doesn't go through our body as fast. I also, one fun experience I got to have, the pharmacy is in the basement of the hospital and it is huge. It's spread all over the basement. And so one day we got to go into the IV room and I got to see IVs being made. And then they have two different sections. One's where they do all the research and they take approve the orders, and then the other room is where they actually make it, and then they have a room off there where they make chemotherapy, and it's just kind of cool just to get to see all that kind of stuff made. For my community service, I worked at Dogwood Village. I volunteered over there. I didn't really have one person that I worked with. I contacted, my contact person was Brenda Hutchison, and I emailed her and called her to set up times that I could come over and volunteer. And then I would work with the different activities people who were in charge of whatever activity I was going with. My first activity that I did with the nursing home was the trick or treat, where they invited all the kids in the community to come and trick or treat, and the residents got to pass out candy, and it was just great to see the joy on the kids' faces as well as the joy on the residents' faces, because they just have so much fun when kids come into the nursing home. This is a picture of me and my grandfather. He lives over in the nursing home now, and what I did for most of my community service was play bingo, and my grandfather is a regular at bingo. He goes twice a week whenever they have it, and so it was always fun getting to see him while I was there. I would go and I would set up for bingo. I would go at like 10, and then I would set up all the cards and the chips, and then at 10:30 all the residents would come in and they would play bingo for an hour, and it was just great to see how much fun they had playing bingo. And I would get to sit, I think I sat with a different resident every time I was there to help them play. I would sit with someone who couldn't see very well, so they couldn't see the numbers on the card, or couldn't hear, so they couldn't hear the calling, or somebody who just wasn't able to go as fast as the people were calling. So it was fun. And the first week that I was there, I got to sit with this lady, and she couldn't hear or see very well, so I had to keep up with her, but she won like 4 times the time I was there, but they can only win up to 2 times, so when they reach their limit, they get very upset. But she kept telling me, she was like, I keep winning, but I can't go anymore. I was like, you can't call it anymore. And then I also did my legacy at the nursing home. I started a group with the Orange County High School SDA, and we're adopting grandparents at the nursing home. And I was over there the other day talking with Mrs. Hutcherson, and she was telling me how excited she was, because she's always wanted to get the students from the high school involved, because it makes the residents so happy to see all the students come over to the nursing home. It really makes them happier to see all of us. If I could give any advice to future students, it would be start thinking about your project early. I got my internship. I made arrangements for it over the summer, but I didn't complete it over the summer. And looking back now, I really would like to complete it over the summer, just because it would have been a lot less stress and a lot less worrying about times that I could go. Because my mentor, he only works every other week. He would work like an 80-hour week, then have a whole week off. So I had to really work around his schedule. And I would also say, don't be afraid to ask people for help. I don't like to ask people for help, so I try and do as much as I can on my own. But doing this project, I really realized that I can't always do everything by myself. And through this project, I've learned that I want to still go into pharmacy, but I'm not sure if I specifically want to do geriatric pharmacy, because I hadn't ever been exposed to hospital pharmacy. I mean, everybody's been to a retail pharmacy, so you kind of have a feeling about that. And then my grandmother, when I was younger, I would get to go to work with her sometimes. So I kind of saw the geriatric side, and I really liked it. And from what she talked about from her experiences working with patients and stuff. But I really enjoyed actually working in the hospital pharmacy just because it was cool and something that not everybody gets to see every day.
For NHS, we went over there for that dance. What else do you think we can do as a high school and get the high school kids over there to get them excited? Because I saw the pictures and those were some happy people.
Yeah, definitely the dance is a great thing. They can always use more volunteers for bingo. That's why that was the initial project that I was going to do with the nursing home, just because I called them and was like, what can I do to come over and help? And they were like, we would love for you to come over and play bingo, because they never have enough volunteers for that, because a lot of residents will come and play. But also, they can always use people just coming over and visiting with the residents, talking to them. There's a whole list on the Dogwood Village website, and there's stuff like coming and talking and like writing down stories that the residents will tell you, so we have like a log, that kind of thing. And adopting a grandparent is also a great way to get involved.
What do you think you can do to engage high school kids to want to do this? Because that's not something that a normal high school kid would do. What do you think you can do to engage?
I feel like they need to experience, like they need to have a personal experience with a nursing home resident. I know I've always just been involved, like with my grandparents' lives, so I've always just kind of been interested in nursing home residents. And it's just a great, like, if they actually get to experience them, I feel like they'll absolutely love it. When I was younger, our church did a youth ministry day, and we got to go over to the nursing home and play bingo with the residents. And so that was kind of like my first like dealing with specifically nursing home residents. And to this day, I still remember going over and doing that, because the residents were having so much fun, and they were just a lot of like, we just enjoyed it so much.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting that you got to see the hospital, like, and including the making of a lot of these medicines, and then you got to see the patient side of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so a question I have is, do you think, like, we've gotten really good, I guess, as humans at keeping people alive through medication, but we haven't maybe done such a great job of like keeping quality of life super high, and like you said, you got to see the patient side of that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess, like, through your research and stuff, do you feel that this is a problem that's being addressed, or do you think like it's going to become a bigger problem as technology?
I don't think it's being addressed as much as it should be. I know personally with the Dogwood Village nursing home, they're an excellent nursing home. They really care about their patients, and so I feel like they're a good example. But my great aunt, she lived in West Virginia, and we went to go visit her, and she had dementia, and so they just weren't really taking care of her, and it was just really sad to see. And I feel like nursing homes need to work harder in order to make their quality of life for their patients better, just because I don't think people are seeing it as big of an issue as it is.
It's like kind of it's like out of sight a little bit.
I was in one of my research articles I was reading, there's this they said something about like nursing homes not being a place to go and die, but a place to go and live, and I thought that was just a good perspective to have on going into a nursing home.
What advice would you give to families who may be considering that decision?
Yeah, it's definitely hard on the family, but it's also better in the long run. You just have to think about the long-term effects of it's going to wear on you more as a family member to have them at home and having to be responsible for their care versus putting them into the nursing home where somebody else is responsible for their care. But as they move in, you just have to remember that they still feel like they need to be a part of your family. So going over and visiting, my dad goes over to visit his dad every day, and I know that's really helped him to have still feel like he's a part of the family, but definitely making sure they get involved in activities. My grandfather at first, he didn't want to get involved in activities. He was convinced he was coming home, and it was really hard to see him go through that. But eventually he started, like, they would go on little bus trips to like Yoders and stuff, and he started going on those, and it really started making him happier, and now he plays bingo every week. I was over there the other day. They have such a wide variety of activities available. There was a harpist playing, and I just think that making sure that they're involved in all the activities that the nursing home offers is a really important way to make them feel like they're part of the nursing home community.
My question ties into Mr.
Kade's question about the idea of where should making nursing homes better. It sounds like a great idea. Where should that come from? Should it come from volunteers? Should it come from
I think it's a combination of government support and the nursing home administration. I think that's really important for them to get involved and for the community members to get involved in their local nursing homes. I know they really appreciate people coming in from the outside and volunteering just because they want to be there and to talk to the nursing home residents and form relationships with them. I know it makes them a lot happier.